Okay. Hi,
Oh,
Tristen.
Hi.
Hi,
hey, how you
Howard.
doing? Hey guys. And
Hello.
let me start out making a comment, okay? Thank you so much because it's really given me a little bit of a purpose to go on in retirement, and it's just great. They opened a lot of doors, so just thank you for letting me in and discuss your career and stuff like that.
Thank you for having me.
Oh well, it's she and David really that brought you in because we only knew each other a little bit through Ben and on Facebook, but
Grew up in Queens, and but so you graduated from Syracuse, and you got your equity card while you were doing
bye bye Birdie.
at the Goodman
Good
Theater.
speed. Good speed.
Good
Yep.
speech. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So what advice would you give someone who thinks they may lose out on opportunities if they don't go to school in the city?
Or in the state.
Oh, meaning in New York City?
New York City, yeah.
So I'm born and raised in Queens, and I was looking at colleges, obviously, all over. Although now it's even crazier than it was when I was applying, because when I was applying, there was maybe, 1,200 applicants to each school, but now I can only imagine how many applicants there are. But I was doing the whole, college round, and it came down. It's so funny because it came down to like NYU, Penn State, and Syracuse. Those were the ones that had sort of the best financial aid and sort of the top schools that I was looking at. And I basically narrowed it down to NYU or Syracuse. And I sort of said, well, I'm going to be in New York City, hopefully the rest of my life, in a career in theater. So I kind of I wanted the college experience, like the true college experience where, you're hanging out with, theater people, non-theater people, so it just, and I had the best time. I really like, you really end up where you're supposed to be. And I have hard time trusting that too, but like, it was so wonderful. And I've, I've gotten so many jobs because of the connections that I've made at Syracuse, but also just like I've had, I've made so many friends. And I just say that you're not, I will say about Syracuse, I did drive down every so often and audition, which is how I got Bye Bye Birdie. But it's not the end of, like, if you don't go to school in New York City, you're gonna end up in New York City if you want to do a career in theater. So for 4 years, if you're out of the city, it's not a big deal. Might as well stay in a conservatory and really invest and learn.
Right, because I
Yeah.
mean there are so many amazing schools and conservatories around the United States,
Did
not in New York
did
City, but it's just like people have that mindset. It's kind of like that Broadway or bust mindset that we've
did
learned so much
did
not to like it's not always, but because there's so many amazing regional theaters around the United States. So it's like it's just it's nice to hear that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also like other people who never even go to college. And I mean, Sutton Foster, I read her book. It's amazing. She was saying
wow.
literally she went to Carnegie Mellon for a year and then dropped out. And like
Wow.
two-time Tony Award winning,
She did okay for herself.
she did
Yeah.
okay for herself. So there's no real path and you can't compare. You can't look to your right or your left and say, well, I have to do it that exact way.
It's
It's really trusting that you're on your own path and you're on your own journey.
Looking back on your evolution and development as a performer, as a theater artist, what was, if you remember, what was sort of the range of musicals and plays that were on your radar before you went to college versus now?
I I don't even know. I just sort of like when I when I went into college, I knew that I was up against some intense talent. I just knew that when I went to New York, because I had lived in New York, I just knew the caliber of talent that was in New York. And I don't necessarily think there were shows that I was eyeing, as opposed to let me be the best dancer I can be. Let me be the best singer I can be. Let me be the best actor. Let me push myself, make this tuition go as far as it can. And then when I moved to New York, it was just, when I moved back to New York, it was just like, I'm okay. So if the algorithm is you have to audition to get a job and it's really hard to get a job, then let me just audition for every single thing I see and one of them will hit. That's sort of how it was. It was like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do 2 auditions this day, three auditions that way, that day. You know, it was just like if the algorithm is the more you do, the more your chances of getting a job. And so then Jersey Boys hit. Like I had no idea. I had no possible thought that I was going to be cast in Jersey Boys. I went to the open dance call because I literally wanted to learn the choreography. I had gotten to the point where I had so many, you know, you audition for so much and you get so much rejection. So there was tons of no callbacks, or I'd get a callback and nothing. And I just was at the point like, this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna go in and I just wanna learn this choreography. Like, let me make the most of my day and learn choreography from Jersey Boys on Broadway. So I went and I did the dance call, and then I got a call back, and then another one, and like 7 callbacks later, I was offered the job. So like, you never really know. You never really know. I mean, some people can be very strategic, but at that point in my life, I just wanted to go in for anything. Whereas now, it's a little bit more specific because you start to sort of mold your career and make different choices based on career motives, I guess. I didn't mention that Syracuse also does the last semester in New York City, which is huge.
Sure.
They do the last semester in New York City, and you're getting introduced to casting directors, and directors are coming in. So I didn't mention that. But yeah, the last semester, senior year, you're in New York City.
Mhm.
So while I was in classes, I was also auditioning. And I think that there's something to say, like, you bring in class what you're going to audition for the next day. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just learn by doing. But yeah, I completely agree. Like, there was no I have to get this job. It was just like, I want to learn this choreography, and I want to go in for as many things as I can because I was new to the city and casting people didn't know me yet. So I just was like, let me go in for everything. What's the difference?
You've done some additional stuff. I was on YouTube last night, and what did I see you do at the green room? I saw
Oh
you.
yeah.
I saw you do. Let's see. It's all coming back to me, and so much better. Is that the
Yes.
other one?
Yeah, I did the green room as a solo show, just because I just wanted to sing what I wanted to sing, and I wanted to do my own thing. And so that was really, really wonderful. But yes, I've done a couple things outside of Jersey Boys because I've been in and out of Jersey Boys for a while. So I was on the tour for a little bit, for a year, and then I left. I did a show in Montana. And then Jersey Boys Off Broadway called me, hey, can you come in for 2 months? Because Rachel Schur she left her contract early to do Chicago. And so they needed someone to fill in the 2 months. But Amanda was already slated to be the new Lorraine.
Amanda de la Cruz.
Yes.
Mhm.
So they called me in for those 2 months, which was huge for me, like making my New York debut in Jersey Boys, like such a full circle moment from doing it on the tour to like always wanting to do it in New York and then getting to do it in New York. But it was only for 2 months. So the second I got there, it was already seeing the end of the contract, you know? And similarly to Chris Stevens only being at Jersey Boys for like 2 days, it was just like,
Yeah. Wow.
it was this bittersweet of, oh my gosh, let me embrace this moment, but also like I have to think ahead and I have to have a job come December. So I was auditioning. I can't even tell you how many auditions I had like during that time, and it was really stressful because it was my first time performing in New York. There's a little bit more pressure because you know people in the audience, you know the theater community, everyone's coming to see you, but then you have like 2 auditions a day before the show. So it was exhausting, and it was just, all I wanted was kind of what everyone else had, which was this open-ended contract, you know? but I was only contracted for the 2 months, and so I had to sit in my gratitude and just say thank you for even this opportunity. So then I left. I ended up booking Ever After, which might be slated to
Yes.
come into New York at some point. It's based off of the movie with Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Great.
yes.
It was so wonderful. Like I was sharing the stage with
Sierra
Rachel York, like
Yes.
Sierra Boggess. I ended up going on for Sierra because I was her understudy. Like she was just,
Wow.
it was the most incredible experience I think I've ever had, truly. I mean, it was so working from a musical from the ground up and like just being on stage with these huge names and just sort of stepping into, oh, I am your equal. That's like a first, you know what I mean? So but then so then that happened, and then I did a production of Legally Blonde in Hilton Head, which was great. And then
Wow. Okay.
shortly after, it was fall 2019, Jersey Boys came back around and they were like, "Hey, do you want an open-ended contract?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my God." So
Well,
that was like,
audition, anything, you just, they were
no, I
like,
did not, because I had already done the show, and I had already like,
Wow.
yeah,
guys,
so
Tristen is offer only, okay?
Well,
Sorry.
no,
I'm just kidding.
but then so it was, I think I joined back in November of 2019,
Right.
and then March 2020 it was done. So
sure.
yeah.
I think the
Let,
first
let,
time,
let me ask you, G and David know this a lot better than I do, but when you're talking an open-ended contract, isn't that 6 months generally or a year?
So it's basically a 4 week out, I believe. I believe. So what the company does is, hey, just give us 4 months, 4 weeks notice, and no strings attached.
Is it
Basically,
the,
like, let's say I was to get a new Broadway show coming in, I would just give them a month's notice. Hey, I'm leaving July 1st. You know, no hard feelings. You're good.
is the converse also true? Can they give you 4 weeks notice and say, that's it?
Oh gosh,
Good. Yeah.
I don't know.
because,
That's not something I want to think about.
Yeah.
so, did you play Francine at one point on tour? There's a pic of you on Instagram in the Francine track dress for Boyfriend, where you were in the middle.
Yes, so when we first joined the tour, I actually sang Boyfriend's Back.
As
I
Lorraine.
was Lorraine singing
Oh,
Boyfriend's Back.
hot tea.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes.
What's the
So
backstory
so
there?
crazy. I just graduated college, and they call me in for the swing. I don't know if it was Francine yet. I think they were still figuring out the tracking because it was not a production tour anymore. It was a CETA tour.
We've already
So
started.
everything changed. Um, and they called me in for the swing, and I basically auditioned with 70 pages of sides. It
As
was just crazy. Because I did Francine, Mary, and Lorraine, all those sides I had to do. And then they ultimately narrowed it down to Lorraine. And then I don't know, they just had they switched, that was the original track on the tour. And Rachel was Lorraine off Broadway, and she also sang Boyfriend's Back.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they switched the tracking. I think and then they originally were like, and then eventually they were like, we want it to go back to the original, which is the Francine. Which, like, I wouldn't, because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They switched the tracking after I left, and
I don't remember that.
So thank you so much again for Tristen and Howard for coming on for part two.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Of course. So Tristen, we got to get to know a little bit about your like just what got you into theater and what your experience was like in college. And I have to say, I loved your perspective going in, like when you were auditioning for programs, because like as you were saying, when you're a kid in high school, either like you could be what could be known as like a Broadway like elitist, it's like when you know everything, like every word to every show, or yeah, and it's very well versed. But and so well, depends who you are. But also, if you just know that you love the craft and you know that you want to do this, but not exactly know why yet, That's why you go to college, and that's why you learn new things. So I really appreciate that perspective, because for me, for example, I try to get my feet wet in every part of the entertainment industry, with film, TV, and Broadway, of course. But it's I'm almost 26 and I feel like shit because I don't know everything, and I thought that I would have either when I was younger or I would know it by now.
That's right. You are. Birthday's coming up. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Howard. Yeah. So I just love that you wanted to do it just for the craft and not because of course you were a fan and a super fan, but not because you felt like there was an entitlement. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's well, I know all this stuff, and it's some people feel that way.
Before I got to college, or even a little bit in high school, I wouldn't listen to the contemporary Broadway scores. I was all about, Man of La Mancha, Sound of Music, that's it. And I remember I was just so not hip with the newer stuff. I mean,
it really is so interesting how the theater has been shifting over the years, what it was even before the pandemic, and now what it is currently, and what shows are coming in. You had Man of La Mancha, these classical shows with, Andrew Lloyd Webber, these intricate, talking about Music Man, I think it might be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it might be the first show on Broadway right now in 2022, the only show on Broadway in 2022 that does not have any electronic musicians. It's live trumpets, live clarinets, string quartet, all of that. Whereas right now you see shows like Six, and Once Upon a One More Time's coming in, and Juliet's coming in, these very pop, rock, techno sort of shows that are coming in. And definitely things have evolved, and especially us as actors, we have to evolve with the times. I saw MJ on Wednesday, right after we had our and something that I took away was, what they included in the show was just how MJ in the 80s, he was a singer since he was young with his family in the Jackson Fives, but he sort of took a moment and looked around him and said, no, the industry is changing and I need to change with it, or I'm going to be left behind, and so that's how he stayed current, and almost that's how he stayed ahead of other artists, I would say, just because times change and you have to evolve with them. And so it is interesting how, when we were in college or in high school, it was totally a different canon than what it was in 2020. And then now with all of this movements, what it has become now and what it's going to be in the future.
There was American Psycho was an EDM musical.
I remember that.
I never saw that.
I never saw it either. The only thing,
crazy.
It was very, very short-lived, unfortunately.
I went to go see Six. There's 4 musicians on stage, doing everything. Even Jersey Boys, if you could tell, everything is electronic, just because the small space,
yeah, you have,
so they can actually it actually works out for it's the best scenario. I know on Broadway, I think they had 3 live drum sets. Remember? I don't know if you saw
it was
on one of the drums
on stage. There were 2 on stage, and
he's a drummer.
He's a drummer, yeah.
Actually, yesterday on Instagram, he was asking for requests on drumming. And I asked him for Wipeout by the Safaris. You remember that?
Oh, he'll definitely do that. Yeah. But no, the whole band, the drums are electronic, I guess, so that Garrett on sound can literally maneuver so that the mix is just super fluid.
Sure.
And yeah.
How did you like MJ? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Gary Newberg saw it on Wednesday too and just loved it. He just loved it. Yeah.
I didn't stop smiling. I didn't stop dancing. Actually, what I found out yesterday with Ben Brooks, our company manager, is that Michael David, who's the executive producer of
Yes,
Jersey Boys,
of course.
is one of the producers of MJ.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
right? It's such a
That's
small
going to be
world.
around for a while. Did you get to see John Edwards from Jersey Boys?
I did get to see him, and I actually went with CJ, and I turned to CJ and I said, "Hey, that's John Edwards. He was in Jersey Boys." I'm a big fan of John Edwards.
Me
I've
too.
seen him in Smokey Joe's Cafe.
Me too.
He's really spectacular to watch.
And he's like probably one of the most fan friendly. When with Jersey Boys, he probably gave me about 5 or 6 tours backstage, with friends and relatives that I brought. And really, I heard he was terrific though. Gary said
He's terrific in that.
He was, and he was on the cover of the New York, or not the cover, but a picture in the New York Times.
There's really no one in the cast so there's this huge dance ensemble, which I haven't seen dancing like this on Broadway since Hamilton, truthfully. And it's this crazy mixture of like Hamilton hip hop, street jazz with wicked ballet modern. So like the dancers they can do everything. But then you have these singer tracks in the show, but also have to dance. Like John Edwards would be considered he was one of the Jackson Fives and
right, he was
sort of the ensemble, a singing ensemble, but he was dancing too. So there's not one person in the cast who isn't singing and moving and dancing. It was really spectacular.
The only disappointment that Gary said, and maybe it was because it was between shows, they had quite a crowd at the stage door, and the only one that came out was the lead.
Well, I'm surprised that anyone came out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that anyone
I
came
know.
out.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I know. I wish that we could do backstage tours. I'm a huge advocate of that too. Whenever I had friends of friends of friends even come, I say, please reach out, because I remember when I would go see shows, it was like the most special thing to see backstage. I mean, I had friends in tons of Broadway shows, and when I go see them, I'd be like, can you take me backstage? It's just like this magical experience. But we're not, I mean, I don't foresee us being able to do that for a really long time, bringing people backstage. And he's right, where, I mean, New World Stages, we have this sort of like secret exit, but I don't think, especially in fall and winter of 2021 and 2022, like we're definitely not allowed to kind of interact.
Do most of the theaters though have secret exits in case people don't want to come out of the stage door? And
I probably assume so.
I know. So the Majestic. There's this one exit that like has like an alley in the middle that you can. There's like 3 or 4 different Broadway theaters. If you don't want to exit, there's even a different exit for New World Stages.
Is it on 45th Street, the exit?
No, it's still on 49th. I don't know how you get to it. It's still on 49th, but it's a little bit more down. But I know there's another.
Well, most of the time, you're exiting on the actors are exiting on 49th.
49th. Yeah.
Most of them, but I don't know.
49th.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how to get to it, but I know it exists.
No, they do have some. If I can give you a quick story, and I don't think she's going to mind this. Christine Spornick, the comedian. Do you know who she is? She's a friend of Daniel Reichert. Anyhow, she was in a catered affair with Matt Scott. If you remember that was in 2008. And I had known Christine, not real well, but I knew she was. And I brought a bunch of friends with me. Pam was there, Wanda was there, Gary was there. And, I emailed her and copied everybody. Christine, could you come out and see us and stuff? And one of the people answered back, who the H is Christine Spornick. And she didn't come out, and I think it's because she got annoyed by the comments. She said no, she forgot about it, etc. But
never hit reply all. That's the lesson. Never hit reply all.
The worst one was Derek Hough when he was on Broadway, and that's when I was with Priscilla, who loved Derek Hough. and I and Priscilla and maybe about 100 other people made it outside into the stage door, and that was way before the pandemic, and he didn't come out.
What
So,
show was Derek Puffin?
from Dancing with the Stars.
No. But what show was he in on Broadway?
Oh my gosh. Something I'm not going to remember. I'm just not going to remember. My memory, just like The Drowsy Chaperone. I saw that, and the only one I remember is George Angle as Mrs. Tottendale. I don't even remember the plot. So,
Tristen, do you remember? Are there any stage door experiences when you were growing up that stand out to you? Like any big stars that you got to meet?
Oh my gosh. I remember seeing Broadway in Bryant Park, and I had just seen
we got to talk about that too.
Oh my
We got to talk
gosh.
about that, but
Huge full circle for me. But I remember I was 12 and I saw Broadway in Bryant Park, and I had just seen Legally Blonde. I did see it with Laura. What did you
what's her name?
I think I saw it with Laura Bell Bundy.
Laura Bell Bundy.
But her replacement just came in. Haley, I think her name was. Right?
Haley Swindell?
Let me look up.
Oh gosh.
It's okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, she was so, I have a picture with her, and she was so sweet, and I just couldn't stop staring at her. I think I'm pretty much like everyone's number one fan.
Yes.
And
I literally
just
yes, absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
So now flash forward, performing at Broadway and Bryant Park with Jersey Boys. Go.
So it was a full circle moment. So I'm born and raised in Queens, and my mom is a huge theater person, and we would always go to Broadway and Bryant Park just because all the shows would be there. And so you could see so many performances or previews of shows before actually seeing them. And it was also in the gorgeous, grassy, beautiful, scenic Bryant Park, which I love. And I had just joined the company. I was on that 2-month contract, which I was telling you last time.
Right.
And I just joined the company, and they were performing in Broadway in Bryant Park, and it was so cool. It was so cool. And because at that point, yes, it's so amazing for you, but also me being like super fangirl of everyone, you're looking to your right and your left, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm with these incredible performers. So it just was a, oh my gosh, I'm here moment,
Of course. What was the rehearsal process like? I mean,
getting your
so we so the set for Bryant Park was the big three. I think we did Boyfriend's Back. No, maybe we did, but we did Who Loves You, Oh What a Night, the big three. And obviously that's not what happens in the show. Everything doesn't happen one after the other. So we had rehearsals and Diana Barger is our dance captain, and she is doing incredible things at New World Stages. I mean, she has director choreographer hat on 24/7. Like, she's really killing it. But yeah, she pretty much redid made sure that everything was consecutive, and it was great. And then we performed, and it was a gorgeous sunny day. And yeah, it all came together.
What happens when it rains?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I would assume that they cancel.
Has it ever happened?
Probably. I mean, I think they'd probably reschedule for a different date. They're usually on Tuesdays, I think.
Oh.
In September.
I've never been.
You'll have to go.
Yeah.
I've been
You'll have to go.
Brought like the when they do it at the shops at Columbus Circle.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
What is it called? Broadway at the shops or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
On like the 3rd floor or 2nd floor, they do it with the stage. Yep.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah.
Rachel Chase there.
Yeah, she was doing some Chicago, because I live right there. I live very close. So I
Yeah.
could just I just
Wow.
walked. So she posted that she was gonna be doing some Chicago stuff this past year, in the end of 2021. So I went and checked her out. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I
Yeah,
worked.
the Broadway community, I mean, people supporting Broadway coming back in the fall of 2021 was so wonderful. I mean, it was, during the pandemic, there were so many, when are we going back? So much doubt. And it's so funny because I was talking to my mom and she was like, when theater comes back, it's going to be the biggest thing that New York has seen in a really long time. And it really was. I mean, the opening night at Jersey Boys was like everything you could have imagined, right?
Electric,
We were all
electric.
there. Yeah.
It was electric. I mean, I had never had an opening night in New York. And so the reopening was, the sticker on the playbill, the gifts in the audience,
Yeah.
Des and Sergio and the producers being there. I mean, it was it was really spectacular. I mean, casting ended up coming, Mary Sugarman came. Like it was a pretty big deal. And Jess came back to redo most of the costumes. I mean, I remember sending him an email right after we opened and saying, "Thank you so much for making me feel," because Jersey Boys had been going on for so long that by the time I got into the show, I was given this and given that. And, I was just, I was filling the slot and I had everyone else's costumes kind of, nothing was necessarily built for me as an original cast member would have had a costume built for them. But when Jess came in, he just took such care and detail. I mean, down to the earring, down to the small little piece of earring on my ear, whether it was a pearl or a jewel or a diamond, like
Oh, wow.
the specificity made me feel, oh, I am being taken, like I'm being taken care of, and what I wear and what I look like matters, even down to like just being waitress number one. It was like, so I wrote him an email and I was just like, thank you so much for making me feel valued and taken care of. Because if you don't feel comfortable in what you wear, I mean, and even in everyday life, but on stage when you're in front of 500 people, it's like if you don't feel comfortable in your clothing and you don't feel good in what you wear, how can you present your best self? So it was like this huge, it was really like the opening night in New York was just fantastic. So
And
yeah.
in November of 2017, I think it was similar. Bob Gaudio
Yeah.
was there. And, it's funny. I don't know that a lot of people recognized Bob Gaudio. And Judy Parker had just passed away, in fact.
Wow.
But Bob was standing alone for a while there, and that was very interesting. I think we talked last time that Nick Massey Jr. was there opening night this time.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and he was really, really touched. I mean, he's a really, really nice guy anyway.
Yeah.
But very humble, down to earth. But he was really touched. He really, really felt that Jonathan did a nice job portraying his dad.
Yeah. Jonathan is also, we call him Cable.
Yeah.
He's really spectacular. I mean, have you interviewed him?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet. His story is really, I mean, he's totally the underdog. I mean, he was swing number whatever on the tour in 2017. And he just was quiet, patient, professional. He did his job. He showed up to work with a smile on his face. Like he did 2 years on the tour and then kind of left the tour. And then Jersey Boys in New York asked him to join as a swing. Did he? I forget if he played Nick on the second.
I think he played Nick on the second tour.
He did. Okay, because I wasn't there on that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like totally, so he was a swing, then he bumped up to Nick, and then Jersey Boys in New York was like, "Hey, can you come back we need you as a swing." Talk about like no ego. He just was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," which I am a firm believer of like, "Hey, just work and there are opportunities to come from just working, because so many people can get their ego in the way of like, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, great, I'll do it. came in, was a swing, and then when the Nick Massey slot opened, he just was so wonderful, and they offered him Nick. And so it's this beautiful story of like consistency and patience and being a good person and a good worker, and like now he's Nick Massey in Jersey Boys.
Well,
So you'll definitely have to interview him because I'm sure he has tons of
Us
stories.
too.
Can't
you
wait.
have explained something to me just now, though. Johnny Wexler calls him Cable. He doesn't call him Jonathan. And
Yeah.
I always wondered about that. And someone who, as you, wished me a happy birthday, and we talked a little bit. I mean, talked on Facebook.
Yeah.
But you've explained now why Johnny calls him Cable. And I've given him the name Jonathan Premier Cable. I don't know if he likes that or not, but
No, and it's so funny because every time I would go into the Four Seasons dressing room, I would notice on Cable's dressing station this book. And it was the Jersey Boys book, and I just was like, "Oh my gosh, like where did you get this?" I forget what he said, that how he got it, but I was so jealous. I wanted this
he got
book.
it from me,
He
Tristen.
got it from you. And then lo and behold, I have my copy now. I'm
Oh,
like,
yay.
every time I would go into the dressing room, I was so jealous. I was like, how did you get this book? Because it just shows pictures from the original company, and it actually has the whole script.
The
But,
holographic.
oh yeah, like,
The coolest
I
thing.
mean, and
Come
I
on.
am this girl,
Come on.
like
Yes.
it's just so, I mean, this is just so cool,
So
like,
beautiful.
oh my gosh. And
You know,
so,
I
so
gotta put,
randomly, Howard messaged me and he was like, I have this book. And I was like, you have the book? And he sent it to me, which I was thank you so
Oh,
much, Howard.
you
Truly.
But let's talk about Lorraine.
Mm,
Let's talk about your girl Lorraine.
yeah,
Talking about the amazingness of the creative team earlier, and with Jess and everything. So the whole
yeah,
creative team was all about bookends and connecting moments.
yeah,
For example, the high string during It's a Sign, Tommy, and the low string during Nikki's exit from the group. With all your talent, you won't even know I'm gone. Like Ron was like, "Hey, I wrote that low string." Because the reason why he wrote that low string is because so on Broadway, when the mics would come out from under the stage, the trap door would trip and there would be a loud ba-boom. So they didn't want to hear the loud ba-boom. So Ron wrote that low string. And he was like, oh shit, let me bookend it in Act 1 and let me put it's the same note, just on a different, just like now it's on a high string instead of a low string. Or
yeah,
Frankie and Mary break up to the same song they got together to. But
yeah,
and of course, Dawn is heard almost each time we see Lorraine and
yeah,
playing while they break up. So I don't know. I think it's kind of like a
wow.
backstory question.
yeah.
Like from your time with the show and your time sitting with this character, how sure was Lorraine of their shot to get out of the old neighborhood? And when do you think she made that decision to leave? When she says,
Gotta get the merry-go-round.
I got to get off the
Yeah.
merry-go-round. So like, what?
Yeah.
So like, when, like, how much was she sitting with it when she made?
Yeah. What I love about Lorraine is she's really career driven, and she's very smart. Um, and she's not relying on anyone. She's at the point where, well, she's at a point in life, like the times are changing from the 60s where, women were stay-at-home moms, and she's,
Mhm.
in one of the breakdowns, she's a young Diane Sawyer. And
Oh.
yeah, in the
I didn't
breakdown.
realize that either. Yeah.
Yeah. She's not Diane Sawyer, but she's
No,
considered like
yeah,
a
like
young
a young
Diane
thing.
Sawyer.
Exactly.
Yeah. And obviously what I love about playing her is that she is the one who, ultimately makes the decision to leave Frankie, as opposed to Frankie in his ways with Mary and other women. Lorraine's sort of like, hey, this isn't working for me, which is hard to do for anyone. But I think especially as a woman, especially in that time, she was just like, this isn't working for me. And so think I think in the packing scene, there's a huge shift and a realization when Frankie has the breakout of like, um,
You
what does
couldn't
he
help
say?
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't help himself. Because in that moment, it's like, not only are you defending him, but you're saying he couldn't help him. Like, she can't even wrap her head around everything that Tommy has done because she's just looking at it objectively. And she's actually looking out for Frankie,
Exactly.
who she loves. Like, she's her only goal is to look out for him because ultimately his happiness is her happiness. I mean, we've all been in sort of relationships where like you are responsible for your own happiness, and
Mhm.
we both have to come together as one, and then that's where like we can grow and blossom. But if you're not, it's just it's conflict. And so I think when he turns around and he's like, he couldn't help himself, he's, from my perspective, he's drawn a line of like, don't cross this line.
Don't talk about
And
things you don't
sh
know about.
right.
There you
And
go.
she's
Yeah, yeah.
and she's like, oh my gosh. I think that's where the oh my gosh is, because it's a realization of,
Francis, is that
Yeah.
it?
oh my
Wow.
gosh,
Mhm.
you're never going to see this. We're never going to see eye to eye about this. And because this is such a big thing, it's not just like, hey, what detergent of lawn, what detergent do we choose? It's a huge shift. It's kind of like, I think she's been numb a little bit of the back and forth with schedules. I think, she's been gone, but she's been gone to fulfill career goals, and it's made her equally as happy. And then he's been gone, and they've been playing this like game, and then they're finally together, and it sort of is the lockbox is open now. She's not numb anymore to it. She's just kind of like, this needs to be over because I need to move on. I have other things that in the best possible intentions, she's just like, oh my gosh. I think that's the realization of, I have to remove myself from the
Right.
situation because this is going to be a constant for our entire life. And so then, oh my gosh, oh my God, St. Francis, is that it? Kind to animals.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment where she's sort of saying exactly how she feels, which is like, I thought you would get out of the neighborhood. Maybe we could, oh gosh, what's the line? I thought if you can get out of the neighborhood, maybe we'd have a shot. And it's not necessarily out of the neighborhood. It's literally like, I thought you, maybe it's evolve with the times, or I thought if you could, I don't know, get out of this. I mean, it feels like Frankie is in a knot, in the Four Seasons with the Tommy stuff, and it's just, I thought if you can get out of the neighborhood, maybe we'd have a shot, but you're never going to get out.
The
What
mentality.
you're never going to come first is what it actually is. It's like, my group is my career and my group and my neighborhood and everything is going to be first. And I think it's a moment of strength where Lorraine says, I'm never going to be first.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge ask to be put first in a relationship with someone you love. I think, it's kind of like, I'm done I'm done taking the sidelines. Like, I want, if I'm meeting you here, then I want you to meet me right in the middle. So, we've all been, I mean, I have certainly, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but relationships where they stop, they start, they're on, they're off. And then that moment at the end is just like, I have to get off the merry-go-round because it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
And if I don't end it now, and I don't make you understand that it's done, then we're just going to keep doing this till forever.
Mhm.
And it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's also, I love the line, but I also hate the line, like, it's no fun anymore,
Mhm.
because it's
Hurts.
so true. It's like, at what point in a relationship are you not happy anymore, and it's not fun. So it's kind of devastating, but it's really so real, and the writing is just so real.
From,
So
And it just
from,
yeah,
happened so quickly
from
too. It just happened so quickly.
yeah.
Everything in that 20-minute section between Stay and Come On Marianne just happens so quickly. Everything just falls apart. And he's at his lowest point. He's no Neil Sedaka. And then after that, he just like everything just like kind of comes back together for him. Everything kind of rises from the ashes. But like that
Of
whole
course.
section, and like the fact that when they sing Bye Bye Baby, when Frankie goes upstage and grabs the mic
Yeah.
and everything, the tempo of the music speeds up because he's on a merry-go-round, and he's also on like this rocking ship that's rocking him back and forth. And he I think Lorraine taught him that lesson that he just needed. Like it's the neighborhood. He's out of the neighborhood. He doesn't live in Newark anymore, but it's the neighborhood
right.
mentality.
From what I understand, though, Lorraine is a composite character. There was no specific Lorraine, and I think Rick Ellis told me that a long time ago.
Yeah.
That Lorraine was a composite. There was no, not one specific person. So, that's what I understand. But that was a long time ago. Maybe 10 years ago that we talked about that.
I mean, I think before the scene, I'm always put in the place. I'm always prepped for the scene when Frankie sings, "You're the one girl in town I'd marry. Girl, I'd marry you now if I were free."
Yeah.
Because Lorraine knows that he loves her. But again, it's like,
But he's
you're
not
not free.
emotionally free.
He's not free, yeah. And it's just kind of perfect because it's just this sweet spot where you're with someone and you know how much you love each other, but it's just not working, which is so devastating because it's your mind versus your heart, because you know that it's not working, but your heart is telling you something different. So
Yeah.
It's very tender.
You know the expression that, and come on, who says it? This was a nice girl.
yeah, Nick Massey.
Nick
Yeah,
Massey.
as if sort of opposed to Mary Delgado. And
Yeah.
I wonder what the feeling of the original Mary was, the actual Mary was to that line.
Well, which is so
gosh.
interesting because I mean, I'm not exactly sure that he was referencing Mary because I think
I think
Mary,
he was.
I think Mary, of course, when we talk about, Nick and Mary and Frankie, like in conversation, we're always talking about the characters and not their real life counterparts. But so, I mean, Mary Delgado in the show, I mean, she is a big reason why Frankie
Is who he
is
is.
who
She
he
shaped
is.
him.
She shaped him. And so like I think maybe a lot of the other girls who maybe just wanted Frankie for his money or for the stardom, I think I think a big reason why we only see relationships with Mary and Lorraine is because those are the two women that actually matter, that actually shaped who he was. So maybe and this is just what I think. Maybe when Nick was talking about that, when Nick was referencing maybe all the one night stands and all the 6-month flings. I mean, is it outlined to you how long they were together?
Lorraine and Frankie?
Lorraine and Frankie, yeah.
I don't think I know exactly how long they've been together. Probably I'd say a year or two.
A year or
Yeah.
two. It's definitely more than like those 4-month flings, and I think that's what I
Yeah.
was talking about.
Well, so when you were studying Lorraine, did you get a backstory from her? Like, was it the Diane Sawyer? Like, is there anything else that was given to you?
There was not a lot given to me. I mean, a reporter, young Diane Sawyer, ahead of her time. I mean, I could pull up a breakdown if you want. It was very short.
Yeah,
I
that'd
know
be amazing.
Let's see. Okay. Lorraine and others. Frankie's girlfriend, educated, not from Jersey. A reach career girl. Young Diane Sawyer.
Not from Jersey.
Not from Jersey. Yeah, not from Jersey, which just kind of is like, don't put an accent, which is just like the audition material. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go off of. Frankie's girlfriend, educated,
Mhm.
not from Jersey, a reach career girl, young Diane Sawyer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you were like just developing her for yourself, like did you
Yeah.
come up with anything else just to give yourself?
Yeah. I think there was a lot of similarities just in that scene of things that have happened in my life. But I think that the opening scene with Frankie is there's a lot there because in the script, I don't know if you've seen the script, what's actually written. So um, there's a he asks, so she's kind of looking at him, and in an interview, the interviewer is always asking questions. Like there's never not a question being asked, and so she's just sort of like looking at him, and there's a pause. If you notice, I don't know
Yes.
if you've
Yeah.
noticed, but there's a pause, and he sort of shifts, and he's like, anything else? Or I forget the line that he said. What
Yeah.
does he say? He
He's
says
like,
like,
I think
What
he
else do
said,
you want to?
yeah,
Yeah.
what
exactly.
else do you want to
What else
know?
do you want to
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, because it's like, you're interviewing me.
Which is like the
You got
last
anything
thing
else?
you want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's just looking at him, and I think that that's really like, I think she's just astounded because she's not from Jersey, and so she doesn't know what B&Es are, breaking and entering, no playgrounds, no after school programs. I mean, you have to think she probably grew up well off or, well educated, all of these things where she's looking at him like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, very
And the
exotic.
whole story with his mom and the laundry that
Yeah.
she goes to the laundromat, and just that is so true of Italian families. Sometimes they're so stubborn and egotistic and prideful. But so right after he says anything else, in the script it says um asking if he's married, and then she says kids, question mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, so the subtext of kids,
Uh-huh.
literally the writer said she wants to know if he's married. Like,
Right.
because she's
You read
like, oh my
parts.
gosh. Because I think she's very respectful in the way, which is all like character stuff, where like she's not going to come on to a married man. She's not going to come on to someone in a relationship. She wants to set herself up for success, maybe. She doesn't want to start the relationship with a little bit of baggage. I mean, he has 3 kids, but you'll notice that he says they're with my wife now,
Exactly.
which is him specifically saying without saying we're not together. I
Wait,
wonder if it's in this book.
wait, he says they're with their mother, right?
They're with their mother now.
They're with their mother now. What did I say? What did I say?
They're with my
I
wife.
think, yeah.
Oh, sorry, whoopsie. They're
No,
with my
no,
wife.
you're
They're
fine.
with they're with their mother now. Wait, I have to find it if it's here. I don't think it's here. I think it's in the oh,
The original
yeah,
script,
yeah.
it would be
Wait a
difficult.
second.
Because that's what Rick and Marshall were masters at. It's like writing in code.
Exactly.
They totally wrote in code. Ah, there we go. Yep. So they both, okay, so this is in the book, if you see it. So people think I'm the kind of son who makes his mother go to the laundromat. Lorraine laughing. Can't win for trying, huh? They look at each other, happy, smitten. So what else do you want to know? Lorraine really asking, are you married? Kids? Question mark. 3 girls. Period. They're with their mother now. Period. She reacts. So she's asking, so in that moment, we're on the same page. Because I sort of put myself out there, but not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have kids? Normal question, but I'm really asking, are you married? And he responds, the question, 3 girls, they're with their mother now.
Right.
I'm not married.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So
Yeah, so
good.
that's really, I mean, there's so many little tiny moments that are nuanced that have helped me with Lorraine. But yeah, and the more lighthearted, not pitying of Tommy when we interview, but like the more I'm just kind of like, oh, riding on his train, the more it gets a laugh at the, you tutored him very well, because it's just like,
Like
Thank
Mary
you.
was married and David, so this is a nice girl. So it definitely was the implication of the opposite of Mary.
mhm.
I know I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that, but it's still very, I think it's still very much open to interpretation, that because I still feel that Mary was, she was a nice, I mean, she was a firecracker.
I
But that
completely
doesn't mean she
agree.
wasn't a nice person. I mean, she was dealing with the same, I mean, Lorraine
Yeah,
was dealing with
with
the same bullshit.
alcohol and
Exactly. And uh, I mean, they kind of almost have the same, they kind of throw the same words at him, because Mary's like, you have all these dates, you're always out of town. And then Lorraine is like, I see you for a week, I see you whatever, and then we don't spend any time together. So
Yeah.
it's
I
they're
think maybe it's referencing, I think I think it's not referencing Mary as a person being not nice. I think it's referencing how the ending was so terrible.
yeah.
right,
And
right.
I think
Yeah,
this was a nice girl
yeah,
also implicates this is a fresh start,
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
as opposed to how awful it was at the end of their relationship because of the hurt, because he did love Mary. And the three kids that they had together. I mean, gosh, all of a sudden you're married, you have three kids, like, that's a hard break.
From,
But
from your perspective as Lorraine, I mean, I guess we kind of talked about it, but like, I guess, like, why couldn't he keep a relationship? I mean, like, I think a lot of musicians, and a lot of, I mean, of course there's the temptation of the tour, of whatever, of a lot of the things that happen on tour life and everything, but why, I mean,
That's
why
why, David. That's why
I
you can't
think
keep a relationship. Go ahead.
I think that in the beginning it was really fun, lighthearted. They were really enjoying each other's company. There was, she was very career, she still is very career oriented. He was gone when they would, this is just my interpretation, but when they would see each other, it was fun and lighthearted, and they would laugh and enjoy each other's company. And then, you get a year or two in, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, what do I want? I need to start maybe seeing, like, where is this going?
Sure.
What do I want? Do I want to get married? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to settle down? Are we ready for that? Is this something I can see happening in the future? And so, I think that they could have played this dance for a really long time, but I think she was starting to get tired of it.
yeah,
I
and
think
like you said.
yeah, I think her priorities might have shifted. Um, how many, yeah, I mean, when there was no end in sight and he had X amount to pay back,
Mhm.
I mean, and
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
way he started to respond to her, I mean, he really does kind of scream at her to get his point across of, don't talk about things you don't know about. Uh, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, like things that don't make sense to her.
Right. And
In the same way that CJ, in the same way that Bob Gaudio is like, we're digging a hole for ourselves, or in the scene he's like, wait, we're taking his debt, like this is knock, I'm gonna knock on your head, like this isn't making sense, we're gonna work till we're in the grave, you know but also, like, you have to give it to Frankie, who's like, Tommy brought me up, I'm gonna stand by him. So I think there was a lot of like pros and cons in the relationship of, Frankie is such a great guy, he's so loyal, he's working his ass off, all of these good qualities, but then at the same time you do have to take a look at yourself and ask yourself what you need, you know and that's with any relationship, that's with friends, with parents, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, lovers, it's just like, you're an amazing person and I love you, but I can't disappoint myself, and I need to stay true to what I want and what I need, you know? Otherwise, it's just like I'm just supporting you from afar as like a mother figure, not as a partner in an equal relationship.
Now, did you play Lorraine from the very beginning when you were with the touring group?
Yeah, yeah, I was Lorraine in the beginning.
You were
Yeah.
Lorraine who sang Boyfriend's Back.
I know. The tracking all changed.
Wow.
The tracking changed. But the tracking actually went back to what it was on Broadway,
Yeah.
which was that the Francine played Francine did the Boyfriend's Back.
In real life, did the Four Seasons really ever tour with the Angels? I don't know that they did they?
I mean, I assumed that they opened for the Four Seasons at some
Well,
point.
maybe they did. And you know that Peggy is nominated for a Grammy for Beggin'. You know that for writing
Yes,
with
yes,
audio.
yes.
Oh, his
Well, Bob's.
ex.
For Madison's Beggin'.
The newest one?
Who's Peggy?
Peggy Santiglia, what's her name? Of the Angels, the lead singer.
Oh, did she write Beggin'?
She wrote it?
She got credit for it with Bob Gaudio, I believe. Yes.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
look that up. Look that up. It is in and I believe she interviewed with somebody about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Howard. I had no idea. That's
I
awesome.
don't know.
We gotta post about that. That's awesome.
Well,
I'm so sorry that you think that to end it on such like a somber note about their breakup.
No, I think that I think it's one of the most like real scenes in the show of just, you know, when you I think it's a scene that a lot of people can relate to. And a lot of people in the audience can relate to, where like if I'm not really feeling in the moment before the scene, like I just think someone in the audience is going through this or had gone through this, and like all I have to think about is we've all been in situations, friendships, relationships where we're not first.
Yeah.
Where we don't come first.
Mhm.
When we are the ones putting them first.
Exactly.
And there is a time where you have to let it go, as you said. That, you know, you can go around one more time, leave tomorrow, or whatever Frankie says. But yeah,
right. So.
Well, it's interesting. I do always think about like, so in the finale, Frankie has 3 more kids, new marriage, and he plans to get it right this time. I always wonder how Lorraine would feel about that when she reads about it later, when she sees it. Like, but of course she's I wonder how she would react.
I mean, me being Tristen, I'm sort of like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Yeah. So I would probably infuse that with her and just say, it wasn't the right time for us.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't the right time for us, and who knows? Maybe she had a husband and a kid of her own at that point.
Right. No, I think that's for sure. Definitely. That could. It's like.
Like you started as a dancer.
I started dancing when I was really young, and it's only helped me in my career to be able to do singing and to be able to do both, sing, dance, act. I really love dancing. I really love it. And it totally like helped in the audition process because you do have to dance and you have to like move a lot in the show. So they definitely look at your dancing. But yeah, I love dancing. I started out as a dancer. Not really started out career-wise as a dancer. I just started dancing first, and then I got into singing lessons, and then I joined a community theater and all of that stuff. So it definitely stemmed out of dance and movement. But
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I wanted to see because so when you auditioned for the open dance call, you just want to learn the choreography. So how has Sergio's choreography shaped you as a dancer?
Oh, I mean, he is so freaking good. I mean, and you also, I'm sure you've seen Ain't Too Proud too. Yeah, I mean, the dancing.
I haven't, unfortunately, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's a genius. And also the way Des, the numbers on the clock in his, you know about that, right?
I don't.
Numbers on the clock.
So Des, on the stage, Des and Sergio work together to make like a clock
Oh,
that's
Mom told us
why,
about that.
yeah, so that's why there are positions where the Four Seasons are facing upstage, which is 12, downstage, which is 6. Then they're on different angles throughout the show, and it's just like it's genius because it's
Mom,
just really fun. And so that's why, you know, in certain dance numbers, they're dancing on an angle on, let's say, they're dancing on 8, and other dance numbers they're on the other angle on like a 4. It's just kind of crazy. So yeah, his dancing is so awesome. You know, The Boyfriend's Back is so
Iconic.
timeless,
Yeah.
iconic, like totally in that 60s pocket. He does a really good job of that. I mean, the Four Seasons dancing Who Loves You, it's so simple, but it's just what the audience wants. You know, it's like the element of surprise. It's when we come down stage during Who Loves You, do 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 when we're clapping, and then we like take an extra step down stage so we're closer to the audience. Like we always get like a woohoo, like it's just what the audience wants. And you know, Ce Soir La is just so fun to do. It's really wonderful.
have you ever watched anyone walk out during Sessoir?
No,
Thank God.
no, I haven't. But it is sort of that weird, like,
Take out.
what are we doing? Is this French? Like, where are we right now?
Is this the season?
Honestly, that's how I felt with the Phantom of the Opera too. I saw it for the first time on Monday, and I'm like, "What is
Wow.
this scene?" Before everything, I was like, "Just start with the like, just do the
Right. But
4 then.
Yeah, I'm like,
but it does make when the Four Seasons come down, it's like
that's it.
I mean, they always get an applause because
Yeah.
it's just, oh my gosh, you know?
Incredible.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think this is a perfect place to wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you to Tristen.
Thank you so much for having me.
For
Thank
coming
you.
on. Everyone go see Jersey Boys at North Stages 50th and 8th. Get your tickets. There's a 2-for-1 going on for Valentine's Day. There's
Right.
still some, well, I guess
through March.
yeah. So
something.
when this comes out, you'll still probably have your chance to get some good price tickets. See Tristen, see the entire cast, kill it every single night. And Tristen, thank you
You're
so
wonderful.
much.
Thank
You're
you so much for
amazing.
taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Howard,
you. Tristen.
Howard, thank you.
Oh, and thank you. My God, I learned so much. I must have seen Jersey Boys well over 50 times. But I've learned
Wow.
so much from you, Tristen, really, and from you guys.
I'm so
of course,
glad.
But thank you.
Thank
And
you.
let me ask you: does the book have the? I do have a copy of the exact script that was written by Marshall and Rick, and I've never compared the two, whether the book has the entire script but I do have it. So
It looks like the book has the whole script. It looks like it.
okay, and I have my autographed copy. I wonder if that's going to be worth anything now. I have it by
Yeah.
Frank.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I don't know, David. I don't know, David. Let's see. I had to wait in line for that one.
Wow.
Yeah, of course. It's very valuable.
Yeah.
make them so much anymore.
All
But
right,
I know.
guys.
anyway, enjoy. Tristen, have a great show tonight.
Take a
See you.
minute.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.